Hi class, this exercise is going to consist of, this online tutorial is going to consist of two exercises found in this week's folder on Blackboard. We're going to take a look at both the exporting images and exporting animated GIFs in Animate exercises. We'll just put them all into this one online tutorial. Because they're related to each other, and the animated GIF exercise is a continuation of the exporting images exercise. Okay, so what we're going to look at this week is just looking at the different ways Animate can export images and animated GIFs, other formats that we haven't looked at, basically. So far we've only looked at the HTML format. We've also exported SWFs, SWIFTs, which is pretty much Flash animation. But it is handy to know that we can export images as well. And this may come in handy for something as simple as creating a placeholder. So if you're working on a project where you will be inserting an animation into a web page, but you don't have the final animation complete, you can at least export some sort of placeholder that has the design, the colors, the look and feel that the end result will look like. Or maybe you're building something that needs to be converted into an animated GIF because some of the devices that will be playing your animation maybe won't be able to play the newer HTML5 JavaScript type files. So it's good to have an alternate file that can be played. So this exercise just looks at all the methods that we can export within Animate. So we're going to actually create not an HTML5 canvas file to start. We're going to create an ActionScript 3.0 format file, and only because it will we're able to export many more formats from that from ActionScript 3.0. So let's start with that. We're going to hit, when you open up Animate, let's hit Create New. And here on the right, let's not worry about the size of our stage quite yet, but we just want to make sure our platform type here is ActionScript 3.0. Okay, let's not worry about width and height. Frame rate can be 24 frames per second. And if you're not seeing what I'm seeing here, just click on the Web tab right here at the top, and you can choose any size, and then just change platform type to ActionScript 3.0. Hit Create. Okay, now let's save this as Butterfly Museum. And I'm going to save it within my required file folder. Okay, so now let's set our background to some sort of shade of green. So in your properties, you can click on Stage Color here, and I'm going to just go for something that doesn't look too bad. Maybe this shade of green, 006600. And let's import some graphics into our library. So choose File, Import to Library. And we want to navigate to our required file folder. And let's import all the images from the required file folder. And again, you'll find it on Blackboard in the static exporting images exercise. All right, so those should be sitting in your library. Drag an instance of branches.jpg to the stage. And we want to change our stage size to match this, this graphic. So go to Modify, Document, and choose Match Contents, and hit OK. Let's rename this layer now, Branches, and you can lock the layer. So this is going to act as our background. All right, so let's create a new layer. We'll call it Bar. It is going to be a graphic, a solid bar color. So let's turn on our rectangle tool and open up your properties panel. And let's change the fill color to 999900. And let's make sure there's no stroke. And create a rectangle, draw a rectangle on the stage. And I'm going to turn on my selection tool and select this rectangle and change its width and height to 800 by 130. Oh, that does not seem like the right size, does it? I'm guessing it's supposed to be 230. Oh, I see my problem here. Okay, my problem there, folks, and some of you may have noticed it. So the width and height are, in fact, 800 by 130, but I failed to notice that I had my lock symbol on here. So every time I changed one of these numbers, the other number would change too. So we don't want that. We want to turn the lock off. And now we can use our Align panel. Make sure Align to Stage is turned on. And let's choose Align Horizontal, and then Align to Bottom Edge. Now let's convert that shape into a symbol. So right click on the shape and choose Convert to Symbol, and we'll call it My Bar, and hit OK. And now that it's a symbol, we can change its color. So we want to decrease its opacity, or its alpha. So choose alpha. And let's change it to, let's see what 50% looks like. Actually, the instructions say 80%. So let's see what that looks like. That's pretty good. So let's go with that. So alpha, 80%. Now we can lock the bar layer. And we're going to create a new layer called Butterfly 1. And let's drag an instance of blue bee ping to the stage. This is our blue butterfly. And let's turn on our transform panel, and let's just scale the butterfly down to 85%. So make sure width and height are constrained, and you can type in 85%. And just position it like this. Okay, so let's create two more layers, butterfly 2 and butterfly 3. And select butterfly 2, the layer name butterfly 2, and let's bring in our orange butterfly, and we can also scale that down. Let's scale it down to 80%. And just position it around here. Now highlight your butterfly 3 layer and bring in your yellow butterfly, and you can scale that down to 80% and just position it like that. Okay, we're going to convert each of these graphics into symbols. So let's start with the blue one. Right click on the blue butterfly and say convert to symbol, and we'll call it, let's just call it blue. Same with the orange one, we'll call it orange. And the yellow one, you guessed it, yellow. We're converting them to symbols because we are going to be animating them. So, as you should know by now in this class. Okay, so let's create another new layer. Oh, and another thing I should note right now. Right now, we're really just putting this animation together. We're just bringing in all the pieces that we're going to need. When we get to the point of animating, we'll have everything ready and in place. So we're not going to quite animate yet. So let's just keep building it. So our next component is a title. So create a new layer, and we'll call it B, the letter B, title. And let's turn on our text tool. And let's make sure in our properties, let's choose, so that the font that's recommended, you may have it on your computer. I don't have it in my computer. But let me just see here. I'm going to choose Futura. Let's see. Or a common font. Maybe we should go with Arial. And we'll change its size to 50. And let's change its color to 993300. And let's type the word butterfly, the bottom, all lowercase. And let's convert that text now to a symbol called butterfly title. Okay, let's create another new layer called U title, the letter U. And let's choose the same font, the same color. So you choose your text tool, and it should have Arial 50 points and the fill color still in place. And we're going to type the word utterfly. So butterfly without, museum, that's what it is. So the word museum without the M. And now let's convert that to a symbol. So I'm right-clicking on the text, and we're going to call it museum title. Now let's create another new layer called M title. And here we're going to choose our text tool, and we're going to type out the letter M, except it's going to be larger and white. So let's double the size, make it 100 points, and let's choose white and type the word M. Why are we doing that? Well, we're actually going to be animating this single letter. Since it kind of looks like a butterfly, we're going to animate it so it flaps like a butterfly. So now let's convert that to a symbol. And we're going to call it Big M Title. Big M Title. And it should look something like this. The exercise file has a lowercase m. The exercise instructions, I should say, has a lowercase m. That's okay. It still looks like a butterfly. The lowercase m might actually look more like a butterfly, but let's just go with this since I've already done it. Okay, so now let's create another new layer called BW. BW. And drag an instance from your library of the BW butterfly ping. And this is just a transparent ping of a butterfly. And we're going to use it more as a graphic. Let's convert this to a symbol. That way we can use it several times. And let's call it BW Bug. BW Bug. And with it still selected, let's scale it down to 30% of its size. And let's go to the properties and change its alpha. So add a color effect, alpha, to 70%. And we want 3 of these butterflies. So if you hold down Alt on your keyboard and click and drag, and if you're on a Mac, it's Option, you can click and drag it and you get another butterfly. So we want 2 more butterflies. So 3 in total. And let's scale that second one down with the transform panel to 20% of the size. And the third one can be 12%. That way we've got one large one, a bigger one, and a smaller one here. And you can position them like that. Okay, so we've built this this animation, although we haven't animated anything. So here's a scenario that you may find yourself in, because I know I have many times. So I'm working in a team, or I'm building a website or an app on my own or within a team, and we just need a placeholder. So at this point, I can export this as a static graphic that can be used as a placeholder while things are being built and the animation is being completed. That way, there are other ways of inserting placeholders. You can just insert like a blank placeholder graphic that has nothing in it, that maybe just is a blank box, but we don't get to see that. It's not very accurate to the final outcome. So since we know our final outcome is going to kind of look like this, with these colors, this font, these butterflies, then it's better to have this type of static placeholder, the static image placeholder, in place rather than some generic gray box. So, so at this point, we can start looking at exporting to different file formats. So how do we do that? So let's go to File, Publish Settings. And we haven't spent a lot of time in this window. But right now, we've got, since this is an ActionScript 3.0 file, we are currently exporting or publishing an SWF, a SWF, a Flash SWF. But if you look along the left edge here, we see many other options. We've got GIF image, JPEG, PNG, OAM, package, SVG image. We get lots of choices here that may come in handy for you. So let's choose JPEG. And here you can change the quality of the JPEG. So I'm going to change it to 60. And I'm going to hit Publish. Now I'm going to navigate to my folder. Sorry. There we go. Okay. So here I have my folder, and you can see that we have a JPEG image. And if I zoom in a little bit here, I can see the JPEG compression really amped up. But how big is this? It's 45K. So you just want to, I think I want to increase the quality to 70%. I'm going to hit Publish. And I'm going to open this up again. Let's see what that looks like. That looks better already, I can tell. There's a bit of distortion happening here, but that's okay if it's just a placeholder. And it's not going to slow our loading down by very much when we're testing, then excellent. Okay, we can also export transparent ping. So to test the transparency, let's temporarily turn off the branches layer. So if I go here, I'm going to turn the visibility off of the branches layer. That way we'll see the transparency happen, visible. So I'm going to go File, Publish Settings, and let's choose Ping. And we want to make sure 24-bit with alpha is on. I'm going to turn off JPEG image here on the left side. Let's hit Publish. And if you open it with, let's open it with Chrome, you can see the transparency. Okay, now let's look at SVG. So let's turn on SVG here on the left. And this is a vector-based web-friendly image format. I want to make sure Include Hidden Layers is on. And I want to make sure image location is embedded within the file itself. And what else do we want here? I think that's it. Let's hit publish. And SVG will want to open up in Chrome. And what do we see here that's not correct? Well, surprisingly, our fonts don't look accurate, which is strange to me because we used Arial, and Arial exists on every single computer. So what we'd want to do is turn the text into outlines. By the way, an SVG can also be opened up in Illustrator as well if you want to continue editing that image, which is very handy. Okay, so how do we... I'm going to just turn on the branches layer here. We need to go modify, break apart. So select one of your text elements, then choose modify, break apart. Then choose modify, break apart again. And it's still editable at this point. We don't want it editable. We want to now choose modify, break apart again. So we're no longer able to edit this text, but it is now a vector graphic. So let's do the same for the M. And how do I know I'm done? Well, I know when the text turns into something like this. You see these little dots filling it up. That means it is now a graphic. It is no longer editable text. So now I'm going to go to Publish Settings again, and I'm going to publish it as an SVG. And I'm going to open it up again in Chrome. And there we go. It looks accurate. Okay. So that's our first exercise complete. And I hope that comes in handy for you. So let's move on to our next exercise, which is exporting an animated GIF. So there is a start file. So exporting animated GIF, there is a start file there. So let's open that up. And this is pretty much where we left off. We'll just use this file. And I think this text is editable again at this point. So we're still within an ActionScript 3.0 file because it allows for more export options than our HTML5 canvas files. So first thing we want to do is prep for animating all these different elements on our stage. And I know my animation is going to be 45 frames long. So I'm going to extend all of these layers to the frame 45. A quick way of doing that is to scroll up to the top layer, highlight frame 45, then scroll to the very bottom, hold down Shift, and click on frame 45. Then hit F5 to extend all the layers to frame 45. Looks like we don't have anything on layer 1, so I'm going to just delete that. It's okay if it remains there. Okay. We're going to add some subtle animations to our butterflies. So let's look at butterfly 1. Let's add keyframes to frames 6, 11, and 16. So frame 6, add a keyframe. So hit F6. Frame 11, F6. and 16. And what we're going to do is create the illusion of this butterfly flapping its wings. So let's select frame 6 of that layer, of the butterfly 1 layer. Select frame 6, the keyframe that's sitting in frame 6. And let's select the butterfly on the stage. Excuse me. And turn on your transform panel. Let's turn off constrain, and we're going to decrease the width to 15%. That way it's squished in like that. And now we can insert classic tweens between frames 1 and 6. Oops. And insert another classic tween between frames 6 and 11. And I'm sorry, I'm just noticing the instructions do tell us to insert one too many keyframes. So we'll just leave it as is for now. So let's see what this looks like. So we see our butterfly flapping its wing. So you hit Control Enter to test it out. All right. So now let's do something similar with butterfly 2. And butterfly 2, let's insert keyframes at frame 14. So we're going to stagger this. 14, 19, 24, and 32. And 28. Okay, so let's do something similar. Let's select the keyframe in frame 19, select the butterfly on the stage, turn on your transform panel, and let's decrease the width to 15%. Now let's do the same in frame 28. So select the keyframe at frame 28, select the butterfly on the stage, then turn on your transform panel and change the width to 15%. And now we can insert classic tweens between frames. What is this? Frame 14 and 19, and 19 and 24, and 24 and 28, and 28 and 32. How's that looking? So let's test it out. Control Enter. Nice. All right. Now we're going to do the same for our third butterfly, and we're going to try and stagger the flapping even more so it doesn't look so robotic. Okay, so let's insert keyframes on frames 9, 20, and 40 of the butterfly 3 layer. 9, 20, and 40. And select frame 20. Then select the butterfly on the stage. Turn on your transform panel and decrease the width to 15%. And now insert classic tweens between frames 9 and 20, and then between frames 20 and 40. Okay. So we're going to add a similar effect to this letter M here. But as we may already know, we can't change the properties as in width and height of a text object. So we have to convert it to a vector shape. So let's go to our library, and we're going to edit this symbol from the library. So double click big M title. And now select the M on the stage and go to the top, modify, break apart, and that converts it to a vector image. Now we can return to scene 1, so click on this back arrow in the upper left. And we're going to animate this title similar to how we animated the butterfly. So let's insert keyframes at frame 14, 17, 22, 26, of the M title layer. And let's select frame 14. And then select the M on the stage. Then choose the free transform tool, and again we're going to scale the width to 15%. And do the same on frame 22. So select frame 22, select the M on the stage, then turn on your your transform panel and change it to 15% width. Now we're going to insert classic tweens between frames 1 and 14. Actually, let's see here. Yeah, between all the keyframes, we'll insert classic tweens. Now let's see how that looks. Okay, so that's our animation. So now, by default, we're publishing an SWF because this is an ActionScript 3.0 file. We can export an animated GIF. So choose File, Publish Settings. And let's turn on GIF. And under Playback, you can choose Static or Animated. So I'm going to choose Animated. Make sure Loop Continuously is on, but it is good to know that you can choose how many times you want it to loop. And now hit Publish. And if you open it up in Chrome, you can see it in action in its animated GIF glory. Okay, so one thing to note is that our publish settings here for an animated GIF does not allow us to animate a transparent GIF. And sometimes transparent GIFs come in handy. So I'm going to demonstrate how to do that by creating a whole new FLA file using just one of our butterflies. Okay, so let's select Butterfly 2, the Butterfly 2 layer, and right click. So all your frames should be selected now. So just click once on the Butterfly 2 layer name, and that selects all your frames. Right click on the frame span and choose Copy Frames. Now let's create a new ActionScript 3.0 file. So make sure ActionScript 3.0 is selected here and hit Create. Now right click on frame 1 and choose Paste Frames. And let's scale our stage size down. So choose Modify Document, then click on Match Contents and hit OK. Okay, so now I'm going to save it just as Butterfly. You can save it wherever you like. And right now, if I export just a SWF, we'll see that our butterfly is working and it's looping. Okay. So we want, let's change the color of our stage to, while we're at it, change it to a green. All right, so we can export this as an animated GIF, but not through our Publish Settings dialog box. We can go Export, File Export, Export Animated GIF. And this opens a whole new window here. Now let's look at some of the settings. We want to make sure transparency is turned on. we want to make sure looping forever is on. Where is that? Come, I can't see it. Oh, looping forever down here. And let's hit save. Now if we open that in Chrome, we'll see it in action. Now, one thing we're noticing here is that we see the green background as a matte around the image. So that might not be what you want. So what I would suggest, and the instructions don't really tell us how to do this, but one thing we can do is choose wherever this butterfly is going to live, you need to choose a background color that matches it. So let's just say the background color is black. Or even better, choosing a dark gray. That might look good as well. Then choose File, Export Animated GIF. Then hit save. And now when you see it in action, it looks a bit better, the outline. Now this little, I have no idea what's going on there. So that's something we'd want to look into. This little flash of white that we're seeing. Because it doesn't happen in our animation. So somewhere along the line, that's being added to our animated GIF. So if I go to Export Animated GIF, we would be able to, let's see if I can scale this a bit. Yeah, if I investigate here, I can see, I can go through all the frames that make up this animated GIF. And in frame 45, for whatever reason, we're getting this blast of white. So we might look into editing that out. Okay, so let me just close this window. All right, so that's how you create an animated GIF, couple different methods, and we'll end it at that point. If anyone has any questions, you can send me an email. And yeah, we'll leave it at that.